Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the First Class, Second Place podcast. I'm your host, Jason Enrique, and we got some first-class guests up in the building today. But before we continue, I want to remind everybody that we are live in Bravery Studios in Garfield, New Jersey. Shout out to Marv beyond the glass. What is up, Marv? It's good to see you again, brother. Feel like I haven't seen you in a minute. Yeah, but you know, it was just kind of like ships, between. Anyways, but ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. And like I said, we have some first-class guests up in the building today. Now, one of the things that I appreciate about these people is everybody knows that I'm a guy that's all about actions more than words. And when these people actually show up and support and everything that you've been doing and the feeling is mutual, I can't think of a better feeling in the world, especially when it comes to us content creators. So I really thank these people for coming all the way, joining us from the city of brotherly love,
yes.
Ray Collazo, and also virtual Dionely Reyes. What is going on, everybody?
Dionely in the house. Yes, good to see you, brother. It's an honor to be here. And if y'all don't know, this is the podcast in New Jersey, repping New Jersey, and Jason is really on the cutting edge of content creation and really inspiring, particularly men to have a conversation about mental health as part of their grind. So it's an honor to be here, brother. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Trust me, the honor is all mine, but I appreciate your kind words. And Dionely, it's good to see you again. We had a lot of fun the last time when I was on your show, Bomba Live, both of you guys.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the hospitality. I had so much fun, and I was like, man, the way that you guys have your setup and everything, I got to step my game up eventually, but we'll get there. We'll get there soon enough. But thank you.
Doing all right here. This is one.
No, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. This is top notch. I mean, we are the best. We are New Jersey's top podcast studio. So shout out to Bravery Studios.
No doubt.
But I just thought that it was really cool, and I just really appreciate the hospitality, and most importantly, your friendship. After we did the show, which was a fantastic show back in March, being able to keep in contact with you guys has been a blessing. So thank you so much for doing this, and let's get into it. Yeah, so Dionely, what's going on with you? I feel like I haven't spoken to you in forever, but I see you on TikTok. You're doing a lot of great things. So what's going on there?
Oh, well, first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me to your podcast. I always tell you I'm amazed by your voice. When you call me, I'm like, oh my God, it's that voice. Well, I'm chief of staff for an amazing organization. And I'm also on my TikTok. I'm reading verses of the Bible in Spanish.
Nice. We'll get into that a little later. But first and foremost, so Ray, like I said, it's an honor for you to be here as well. I really appreciate it. And what's been going on with you? I know that this is an election year, and you're really deep into this is your niche, politics all the way, and you're like it's been taking a toll on you, kind of. But this is what you're all about. So this is a crazy year for you.
The Yankees and the Dodgers in the World Series, and I'm kind of in my World Series, which happens every 4 years with the presidential election. So a lot of you may know me from my podcast stuff, and Dionely is a great collaborator with that, Bomba Live, and I encourage people to check out our YouTube page, check out our content. But by day, I'm the executive director for the Unidos US Action PAC. So when you hear in political parlance, super PACs, so we basically, that kind of political organization is able to endorse candidates and do partisan political activity. So we are the PAC for Unidos US, which is the nation's largest Hispanic civil rights organization, kind of analogous to NAACP or Urban League in the black community, sort of like the Hispanic equivalent to that. So we're a national organization. Even though I'm an East Coast guy, we have a national network of affiliate organizations, and I'm doing politics on a national level. So we've got folks from Philadelphia to Phoenix, Arizona, Las Vegas, representing us doing campaigning, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but throughout the year, I've been zigzagging the country to elevate the perspective of the Latino vote and Latino leaders in politics, because that's more important than ever.
Nice. Now, obviously, I'm a fan of the show. I love Bomba Live, and I can't wait to when it's up and running again. I know it's just been a busy time with the election and going on and everything, but I want to know, how is it that the two of you guys got together? Because I feel like, you doing the whole political thing, and I know that Dionely's is kind of like, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. She doesn't really get involved as much, but the dynamic between you guys is fantastic. So I just wanted to know how you guys linked up.
I'm going to tee it up, and then Dionely can tell the story.
All right.
So it's interesting because with my podcast journey, so again, I do politics for a living. So when I initially started podcasting 11 years ago now, I did everything but politics. And
He's a pioneer. He was podcasting before podcast was a thing.
Well, but when podcasting was like for weirdos. Now it's all the cool guys doing it. Like Jason,
now everybody wants to do one.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other conversation. But so a lot of the show was actually closer to a lot of what you're doing around mental health and like personal development stuff. So then in that process, Dionely had a mutual friend, and then I discovered Dionely. Then Dionely could take it from there.
Gotcha.
Oh, yes. So I co-authored a book, and I was invited to Ray's show in Philly, to Ray's radio show, and he interviewed me there. And what I wrote about in the book I co-authored is surviving gaslighting and how God helped me through that process. So then Ray invited me to co-host his show a few times, and I would talk more about gaslighting. And then he had the Bomba Live. No, you had Found in Translation and then Bomba Live. And I remember when everything got shut down, we did, what is it, a 12-hour Bomba Live? Like
10, but who's counting? Yeah. Yeah. It was basically like, because, yeah.
I was a part of that, and I'm like,
yeah.
No, and that's what I saw. I love that Ray thinks big. Like it wasn't going to be like a 1 or 2 hour live show. No, 10
that sounds
hours.
That sounds like your own podcast. Ray thinks big.
Bringing all these talents together, bringing all these people together, and I admire that.
Well, I'm older than y'all. I grew up, Jerry Lewis with those big telethons. I always wanted to do something like that. So that's what it was. But yeah, it was quite a spectacular. And Dionely, not only had this niche around really helping all of us, particularly women, heal from toxic relationships. But she has good instincts, and even some of the political commentary, I thought she brought a different perspective. And Dionely, along with a few other ladies in Philadelphia, sort of take turns hosting the show with me, depending on the topic. And shout out to Vanessa and Christina and others.
Right.
But yeah, no, Dionely, and she's an IG star in her own right. I'm just riding her coattails, but it's been a great friendship, and we collaborate now, and she's been helping me with some of the political stuff this year as well.
Right. So try to correct something for me here, because I know that you guys are based out of Philadelphia, but to my understanding, you guys aren't necessarily born and raised there. Like, are you did you come from there? Is that like your origin? Or because if I'm not mistaken, Dionely, you initially come from South Jersey, which is essentially right there by Philadelphia. But I do remember that we had a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek battle between North and South.
Yeah, the South versus North debate. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, we're not battling with that again.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
Well, I was born in the Dominican Republic, and I came to the United States when I was like 5 or 6, and I was raised in Camden County. So started off in Camden. So shout out to all my people from Camden, and then Pensacola and Cherry Hill, and then I moved to Pennsylvania. So I've been in Pennsylvania for a little over a decade, and so here I am now.
Yeah, and I'm born and raised in Philly, and I went to college in New York. So a lot of my homies, and actually one of my brothers lives in North Jersey, the tri-state, and then and lived in Philly most of my life. Actually, live in South Jersey now. Actually,
wow,
so we're all sort of circling, kind of rotating here.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah. No, it was funny because when I got to the building, getting ready to do the show, I was purposely looking for a Pennsylvania license plate, and then I saw that you were had a Jersey license plate, so I was a little confused there at first. But anyway, so going back to what Dionely was saying about before, about women's, coming out of abusive, toxic relationships, and I've been preaching pretty much the same thing, or just the general aspect of mental health, but from the men's perspective, because I have mentioned before on plenty of this podcast and other podcasts that mental health has become a big topic of discussion very recently, especially in the last couple of years or so, because I think that people are now especially finding out that it's okay to talk about your problems and ask for help if it's needed, and so on and so forth, when there was a time where it was taboo, especially for us Hispanics and other minority groups. So I guess what I wanted to ask you about is that I know that you do the whole political commentary and everything, but how indoctrinated are you when it comes to that subject in particular?
Well, that's taken a whole different turn for me because of life this year. So for people that don't know, I lost my mother in March. It's actually going to be 6 months from a few days from now that we're taping. And you know, look, it's the worst thing to happen in your life. I guess maybe losing a child or something. But I mean, there's nothing, you know, more heartbreaking. And the mental health journey this year has been a real challenge because I think on some level, not that I didn't take time or I felt like my mom didn't get her flowers because, and all of you were a part of it, you know, she just had a wonderful send off and people were so wonderful to the family. But, you know, like a lot of guys, you know, I threw myself into work to kind of avoid thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sort of a convenient, the election cycle, and this being obviously a real important election, it was kind of a convenient excuse for me to just say, well, I'm going to do it for her. And not only was I am, because she taught me about activism and and she made it known in her final months and weeks, like, hey, you know, I'm not going to be here much longer, but you got to go out there and kick ass. So I'm trying to kick ass for her. And I think we've done a lot of great things to elevate our perspective in the electoral cycle. But yeah, but it's funny that you talk about that because it hit me actually yesterday.
Wow.
That something happened and I'm scrolling and, you know, she came up and then it hit me that it was going to be 6 months and a couple days. And, you know, it's, you know, I don't think I've really processed it fully. So, you know, that's something I really have to work on, particularly once the election's over and I have a little more time.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny how you bring that up because my father actually passed away 7 years ago now, back in 2018, I should say. Yeah. So the thing is, thank you. So I've actually talked about before how it affected me in some capacity, but it never really got me like, my world wasn't crumbling per se, you know. Like I'll even be honest with you here, and this is not something I'm particularly proud of, but even still to this day, when my father passed away, I never really shed a tear. Like, was I sad? Was I, you know, upset and kind of confused about where everything was going? Yes, but I don't think I've really had that moment yet where it really has sunk in that he's no longer here. So I haven't been able to really shed a tear. Now, maybe my eyes will get a little bit watery when there's certain things that happen in my everyday life. Like just today, there was something that came to mind that I don't exactly remember what I was thinking, but what I do remember about it was like, man, this is one of those moments where I wish my father was here so that I could ask him a question to you know, help me out with what I'm thinking about. You know, so yeah. I think that me being able to be open and talking about it and letting people know that it's okay to get this out and, you know, don't hold it in, because we've been, you know, us Hispanics, we've been told a long time about how this subject is so taboo and we don't really talk about our feelings, especially from a male's perspective. Like we come from a culture where we strive on struggle. You know, we've been through the fire, we've been through peaks and valleys and this, that, and the third. So when a subject like talking about your problems and your feelings come up, it's like, you're supposed to be stronger than this. What the hell is wrong with you? And then we have like guilt or whatever it is, or remorse about even being open about and how we feel.
It's funny because I have a different spin on it, and I definitely think we should get Dionely engaged in this conversation because she has a story to tell, a few stories as it relates to this topic, and her journey actually helped me because she had gone through it before. But there's a couple things for this for me. So one is, so I cry plenty about it all the time. I cry about it multiple times a week. So I think on that level, I engage with it. Mm-hmm. But the thing I can't let go and reconcile is I'm still angry at God because of how it went down. I mean, she was 76, so not so much the age, but the fact that, you know, she lived with dementia for the last like 6-7 years of her life. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel on a certain level like, you know, I still am sort of mad to God, like, why did she have to go through that, right? Like, the quality of her life the last several years was not what I think it should have been. And then the other part of it is that, you know, I mean, I think I was a good son, but I never was. I still feel very guilty. I wasn't a better son, and on some level, you know, you can't make it up now. Right. So those emotions are the pieces that I really have been trying to work through. But you know, the sadness never ends. And then, but I've had moments in this journey that I know she's there. And I'll tell you this story for your audience that, my mom's name was Sonia. And, I've had so many moments in the last 3-4 months where Sonia has presented themselves to help me out or to just be part of this journey. So for my campaign, my communications director is a Sonia. My Pennsylvania state directors are Sonia.
Wow.
I had the honor of having a conversation with Justice Sonia Sotomayor a few months ago in Washington, D.C.
Yes. Hmm.
And I had the opportunity to share with her that, my mother was her biggest fan, and my mom passed away being your biggest fan of Sonia and the Supreme Court, Boricua, and all that.
Wow.
And she said, well, Ray, that, my mom passed 4 years ago. It doesn't get better, but you got to understand that they're with us now. Right now, they're here. And so, when you have a moment like that with an iconic human being, that's a Sonia, that's Puerto Rican, that gives you that kind of time and that kind of themselves, I know she's here. So I also have to give myself some grace and understand that she never left me,
Yeah, that's kind of where I am as well. And we'll get to you in a second, Dionellis. But just to piggyback off what you were saying, that's kind of how I've been dealing with, the passing of my father. Like when he passed away, I wasn't really doing shit with my life. I was still kind of lost in the wilderness. Didn't know if I was what I was my trajectory for my life and so on and so forth. But now that I've been doing the things that I've been doing for the past 3 years, I'm very proud of the progress and all the things that I've been able to do in these last three years. But one thing that's still a little bit of a chip on my shoulder is that I wish that he was here to witness it.
100%.
But I want to take comfort in the fact that he's still with us in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not physically, but he is still regardless.
No doubt.
And with that being said, I know for a fact that he would be absolutely proud.
Oh,
he absolutely is proud. I mean, I
100%.
know that he wanted the best for his children, and he was always the biggest cheerleader for me, my brother, and my sister. So I have no doubt in my mind that he's certainly proud of everything that's going on in my life right now, as well as my brother and my sister. And now to you, Dionellis.
So everything you guys are feeling, I felt that before. My dad passed away suddenly in a car accident back in 2005. It was my freshman year in college. And I used to idolize my dad. He was like my person, like my role model, he was my everything. So when he passed away, I felt like I lost everything. And then I kind of went off track as to what I should have been doing. I lost focus because I'm like, was everything that I would do like great? I was looking forward to his reaction. Like I would get an amazing grade at school, made honor roll. I would look forward to my dad's reaction. Oh, and my dad was always pushing me to graduate college. So I'm like, what's the point? And what's the point of me getting married? My dad's not going to be there. You know what I mean? So then I was just like, I didn't care about those things. But then things happened and I thought it was fine because I'm just going to mention the 5 stages of grief real quick. Is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. And it's not all in that order specifically. Like it might go back. Like you may think that, okay, I'm depressed, so I guess I'm going to accept it later. But you might get back to like anger and everything. But so I thought I was fine but then I realized that I was just avoiding like every time I would feel like I was gonna cry, like many times I'm like, oh, let me just do something else. Let me think about something else. Until one day I felt like this huge void in my heart. And then I like cried. I clamé a Dios. I called out to God and I'm like, God, I miss my dad so much. Oh, I don't want to cry. Oh my God, am I about to cry? And then I was convicted to open the Bible, just read the Bible. And when I opened the Bible, the first thing I read was, I'll be your father. And then instead of me like continuing to read the Bible, I got scared and I closed the book and I kept on, making my own decisions sin consultar a Dios, without speaking to God first. And there were, some, if I would have, I don't know, everything that happens is for a reason, but I made some poor choices. I learned from them. And the point is that nothing can replace the love and the person that you loved once they're gone, except God's love. And then you can't accept God's love until you're no longer angry with him. That took me a while. I was so angry at God because I'm like, my dad was only 49. There's all these evil people out there and they're still alive. Like, why did you take him? But then now that I'm seeking Jesus and reading the Bible, I'm like, I was so ungrateful. Because like, God, forgive me. Because I had a great dad. I had him for 49 years. So instead of me focusing on him not no longer being in my life, I'm just grateful for the time he was with me. And then I realized I can't idolize anybody. I can't put anyone on the pedestal because everybody's temporary. You know what I mean? Like the only thing that's permanent is God. That is el único eterno, the only one that's eternal. So I learned that in the process. That was tough. Like I'm saying it like it's easy. Like one day, oh, I just picked up the Bible and then no, it was a process.
Right. Now, I'll be transparent with you. You actually know about this, Dionellis, but I don't think I've had this discussion with you yet, Ray, and also to my audience. So, as I mentioned before, when I came on Bomba Live down in Philly, I had a great time. I had a great time meeting you. I had so much fun, and then so on and so forth. However, before and after we did the show, I was not going through it. I was not doing very well mentally. Like I was not in a good headspace. There was some things in my personal life that were not ideal, and it was kind of taking a toll on me. So I was just throwing myself into work, like my regular 9 to 5, and also my content creation. And that was like my mini vacation. Going down to Philadelphia and being on your show and forgetting about my problems. But as soon as it was over and I came back home, it was like my problems came back, and I'm just like, trying to deal with it. But I did share a little bit about it at the time with you, Dionellis, before I left back to Jersey and when we finished the show. I was transparent with you, and I let you know that even though I'm glad to be here and I had so much fun, things aren't necessarily 100% with me right now. But then you said something that it didn't really resonate with me at the time, but as time went on, it just kind of lingered in my brain. And then afterwards, now as currently constituted, I'm in a much better headspace and I'm much happier and so on and so forth. But
right.
What was it, that one thing that you told me that lingered in my head and it just brought me to a place where I'm at right now?
What was it? Because I said so much. I said that people, one of the things I said is the people that have a good relationship with God, they tend to have better mental health. I don't know. What else did I say?
It must have been something from the Bible or something. Everything is temporary.
One of my favorite Bible phrases is Genesis chapter 50, Genesis 50:20. What you meant for bad, God meant for good. Maybe I said
That's what it was. That's what it was. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest with you, Dionellis. I'm not a religious person, so there's a part of me that kind of thinks.
By the way, I'm not religious. It's about, because religion, it kept me away from God. Like reading the Bible and all that is about cultivating a personal relationship with God, not just a random God that you're just imagining. El Dios de la Biblia. But go on.
Right. But no, like I've never read the Bible. I don't go to church. I don't do any of that stuff that's, that comes with the territory. And, kind of like how you guys have mentioned about being mad at God for taking away your beloved parents. For me, it's more like I want to believe that there's a bigger life force out there. I know that there's people out there that they have their beliefs, and that's fine. I have nothing against that. But I'm more of the mindset where, like, I'm not an atheist. I'm not even agnostic. But I just want to truly believe that there is a higher power out there. But I'm so stubborn. Maybe it's a Taurus in me where I feel like I have to see it with my own 2 eyes and hear it with my own 2 ears for me to actually believe it. But I guess I need to be in tune more spiritually or something. I don't know what the case is. That's just one of the things that I'm working through.
But the thing is, Jason, at the end of the day, and this is one of the biggest thing my mom taught me. It's funny that if you're going through it, you got to have faith that you're going to get through it. There's going to be an answer. And Dionelli sees this in the work that we do on the political side, is that I stress about everything. And, the long and short of it is I've had to raise to do this campaign in all these states we're doing. I've had to raise about $3.2 million in the last 3-4 months. Yeah. And I would joke about it and I would stress about it. And at one point I owed, not me personally, but the organization owed somebody about $500,000. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Give me 3 weeks to get that. But you know what? It's worked out. And my point is that, and Dionelli's reminded me of this, and my wife and other people, is like, faith. You're doing the right thing. It's going to get worked out because you're doing things for the right reasons. And that was always my mom's biggest lesson. So and there's been times in my life when I've been really religious. There's been times where I haven't gone to church. And so I'm sort of in between right now. But my point is that to Dionelli's point, everyone's relationship with spirituality is different. and everyone has a different path. And one of my sons is a Bible thumper, and the other one isn't. But they both have a spiritual life. So I wouldn't concern myself with how it manifests for you. But the challenge is to have the faith.
Right.
You know, and that's the scariest part, because especially guys, we want to have certainty and see it and touch it and know it's going to work out. But there's good, you know, what's not going to work out, and kind of the half full, half empty thing. But the faith is the most powerful emotion, brother. So you got to have faith. And look at where following your heart led to you here. You know?
Yeah. I mean, listen, like I said, I don't negate the fact that there's, you know, I'm not one of those people that's just completely closed-minded and think that, oh, we're just here just for living at a certain time, and then we're all going to be bug food eventually, and the earth is just going to keep on rolling and rolling. And
hey, look, that's possible. I can't, you know, who knows?
Yeah, I know.
But my point is that all I know is living in this life, in this being, is that when I put my faith in how I think of it as God or spirituality, and that God will enlighten me and clarify things, that's been the case. You know, a couple of years ago, I got Guillain-Barré. And, you know, today it flared up. So, you don't see him kind of hobbling around with a cane and stuff. And, you know, there was, there's just a lot of questions like, why did this happen to me? But then, you know, as time goes on, you see the reasons and the lessons that you learn. So there's something to it. I don't know how to explain it, but having that faith that you will get clarity in some way, I think is very powerful.
I have a question for Jason.
Yes. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Jason, what's keeping you from reading the Bible?
Honestly, there's nothing really keeping me from reading the Bible. It's just something that's not on my radar. It's not that I'm against reading it. It's not like, oh, keep it away from me or anything like that. It's just the thought just never really came to me. And but I guess I could also add this caveat as well, where I have certain family members, I won't mention which ones because, you know, they watch the show and I don't want them to, you know, I don't want to put them on blast or anything, but they went through a period where they were so consumed but from what they're believing and what their faith was, to the point where I feel like it was trying to be shoved down my throat. And once I was stubborn to it, the dynamic in the relationship changed, and it hasn't been the same since, because they believe in something that I don't necessarily feel that that's there.
Yeah, fanaticism can turn people off.
Right, exactly, and that's exactly what happened with me. So I guess because of the extremity of it has basically kind of turned me off for the most part, but it's now at a point now where it's not really anything that's keeping me from not reading the Bible. It's just that it just never really crossed my mind.
I would say two things to that. Yeah. One is I had to do it in college, and I found it such an interesting exercise. I never thought of it this way. Don't think about it as reading it to find truth or to explore your spirituality. Think about it more of an academic exercise.
Yes.
Interesting.
In the same way you would read War and Peace, or you'd read like some other classic of literature
or something like that. Yeah.
Read it in that context. And then it takes the pressure off. Like, okay, like I'm not going to get some incredible understanding of like my spiritual life, but just read it like with none of that baggage associated with it. And I don't know what you'll get out of it. Right. But taking that pressure off that it's going to be some pathway to some additional enlightenment, and just reading it for the stories, I think would give you an interesting perspective.
That I agree with you, Ray, because there was like, I was afraid to read it because there was like so much baggage attached to it, like so much pressure. I'm like, well, if I start reading the Bible, it's probably gonna like change me, or I'm gonna feel guilty about doing the things that I enjoy doing, because I heard that if you're Christian, you can't go here, you can't do that, you can't wear this, you can't say that. And I'm like, I'm not ready to give this up. But then when my grandmother passed away in December 2022, we would have Hora Santa, like our prayer every month. And also for Los 9 días, the first 9 days when she passed away. And then my mom asked me to like lead it. And then part of it is you got to read it, El Evangelio del Día, the Gospel of the Day. And then I would read it. I'm like, the Bible isn't that like daunting. Like, and I'm like, this isn't bad. And then I was like, let me read the Bible. Because I'm like, should I start going to church? But then when I would go to church, I would feel it would like push me away, because then the pastor would just be talking about el diezmo, like give us money, give us money. I'm like, what is this? This isn't what I came for. So I got
Mm-hmm.
like turned off from it, and then I'm like, let me just read the Bible, just so I'll know if somebody's lying to me about it. And
Right.
then that's how I was able to get through. I'm already to Second of Kings, Edo de Reyes. So it's really interesting. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, you actually great. You bring up a great point there, Lelis, because going back to the extremities and how people can be sometimes. It's almost the same thing with me. Like my father's side of the family, they religiously go to church every Sunday. They're Catholic and so on and so forth. So I would go with them pretty often, especially during a certain time of my life. And there was also another family member that tried to take me to a non-denominational, whatever it's called. But yeah, so nothing ever really did anything for me, and sometimes I thought it was kind of ridiculous, for lack of a better word. Like I would see some of these programs, and people putting their hands in the air, and they feel like they legitimately feel like the power of God and speaking in tongues, and like they feel like something has overcome them, and so on and so forth. And I'm like, I just feel like a corpse. Like I don't feel any of this. I can't resonate with any of this stuff that's going on. So
Did it make you feel guilty? Like,
um
why don't I feel it? Why don't I?
oh yeah.
Am I cold, or I'm not open to God? Or
Oh
anything
yeah,
like that?
yeah. Like I started thinking, like,
It's
am I just
interesting.
a sociopath that's just not
Yeah.
feeling? So, yeah, no, it definitely made me feel guilty, because if it's clearly working for these people, why isn't it working for me? So, I'm pretty sure the answer is out there. I just don't know what it is, but who knows? Maybe part of the reason why we're having this conversation and doing this episode is to help me find that. After all, this is not what I was expecting, but who knows? Maybe this could be that
Brother,
purpose.
I would think about this, and let me tell you my perspective on how it manifests for me, and I'm going to put something in your brain to think about.
Sure.
So, one of the reasons, and I know with the time we have, we're not going to go too much into politics, but one of the reasons that I, obviously with my work, I am so focused on making sure that Trump's never in power again and that he leaves our lives,
Mhm.
is that his movement is so bastardized, faith. And look, the first 3 Ten Commandments are about not worshiping a false god. That's literally the first 3 things God wants you to know. And what's happening here in our country, right? So my mission from a political perspective, and why I do the service stuff, I've done this my whole life, the activism and organizing, is because of my faith and what I was taught in Catholic school my whole life, which is, Jesus was an asylum-seeking baby whose mom name was Maria, who was shooed away, by the way, was rejected, right? Like had to be born in a manger. And he hung out with the poorest people in his community, the gangbangers, if you will, the sex workers, the single moms, and was about the poor. He would be in our modern politics, Jesus now would be shunned. He'd be like considered worse than Bernie Sanders by some people.
Right.
So in that political sense. So that's what drives me. And that's what's so frustrating to me about our modern politics. But my point is, in my perspective, and again, I don't go to church every Sunday. I'm not a big Bible reader like Dionely. But what I was taught in Catholic school was the Jesus story, which is about being humble and servicing others. And that has been the way. So I've manifested my spirituality, my religiosity, not through going to church and like the ceremonial things.
Mm-hmm.
It's how I try to live my life. And I would suggest to you, Jason, again, without attaching a religion to it or any of the you are manifesting your spirituality in doing this because you had no reason to do this on some level. It wasn't your career. You didn't, but you were called to do this. And by the way, this could very easily be, especially with your work in the arts, right?
Yeah.
You could sit here and just interview celebrities, starlets, IG stars, and cool comedians alike.
Mm-hmm.
But you've dedicated this platform in so many, really the base of the platform. Obviously, you want to give people shine and the communication, artists, content creators. But look at what we talked about. Mental health, overcoming grief, dealing with loved ones, our spirituality. You've created your own, don't take it the wrong way, like your own pulpit.
Yeah.
Here to express your beliefs and to spread in your Jason from Jersey way,
right?
Not in a religious way.
Mm-hmm.
Your ministry in that sense.
Yeah.
So you actually are doing it already, and you don't even realize it. And that's one of the things that and people like Dionely and so many people in my life, particularly after my mom passed and just trying to make sense of all this, is that sometimes you have to have other people be a mirror to you because I hear it and we talk about offline, you know, I don't know what was going on with you, but you're going through it and you've shared a lot of that on your show. Mm-hmm. But you have probably little idea how much first of all, how great you're doing, but really be specific, how much you, Jason, are impacting people in a very fundamental way, even if they never tell you about it. Because I'm sure there's your fans that watch you that'll never admit it, especially the guys, how much you're helping them with their mental health. And this episode is going to be so you actually have a ministry, brother, and you don't even realize it. And so it's very powerful, this conversation.
Wow, I'm for the first time in 152 episodes, I'm speechless.
Yeah.
It's an interesting fact the way you look at it, and I think I've realized this before, but I don't think I contextualized in words where I feel like, yeah, I got inspired to do a podcast because I saw certain people doing it, and I was inspired by it, and I felt like that's something that I could do. Yeah. But ultimately, I feel like, you know what, I think after I did it a couple of episodes, I realized, man, I could really use a friend. And the only way that I'm actually going to see if anybody I'm just going to throw the dynamite out there and see who, well, that's actually a wrong thing. Like, just throw my hand to the ring and see who catches it or something. And I come to the realization that there's a whole lot of more people that feel the same way that I do.
Jason, you and I are a lot alike in that we're both talk show nerds. Yeah. Like, we do this because we love the craft. And I was telling someone the other day, I think I was telling someone this morning, is I do this, all this Latino political stuff and civil rights and all that. I do this to honor Johnny Carson. You know, that little boy, Johnny Carson was the GOAT of talk shows. I think there was a time in our nation's history where he was really the TV figure of them all. None of these Jimmy Kimmel, and these other guys, they're all talented, they're cool, but none of them were on Johnny's level. He was the coolest, the funniest, the hippest, the ladies' manest. He was the best. Johnny was number one. So I do it for Johnny in that sense. But we do it. We love the craft. But at the end, and we're both talented. I think you're very talented at what you do. You have so much potential to even take it to all the levels.
Thank you.
Both. I was recently with my day job stuff, and the other show was Action Pack. I was on C-SPAN for 45 minutes, bro.
Wow.
And I killed it. I ain't gonna lie. Look it up. But my point is that, and I got a lot of great feedback from our friends and family, and I said, I really appreciate this, but 20% of it is the content that I spit out, my spit game. But I said most of it actually is that so few times, particularly Latinos, don't see us on those kind of platforms, in those kind of spaces, putting our perspective of people like where we came from. So it wasn't so much how I did it, was what perspective I was representing. And that's why, Jason, you have to keep doing this, brother, because there's people that you can connect with that'll never click with me, just because I have a different swag, and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
But you and there's so few men, Latino urban men, that we hear from that have your perspective on things. That's not only that has that street edge, but also thoughtful. And so you got to do this, bro, because you there's so many men you can reach and so many people you can reach that just want to see their perspective from someone like you because they can relate to you. So you have a great mission, brother.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm still fighting to this day, and I feel like I'm getting a little better at it, but it's a work in progress. Where, I've seen everything that you've done for quite some time now, and I hold you up to a little bit of a higher echelon. I don't put you up on a pedestal or anything like that, but I do have you on a high list of caliber people. And then afterwards, hearing you say that about me, it's a little bit of me fighting my imposter syndrome, because even though I appreciate it and I thank you for your kind words, there's always going to be that part of me in the back of my mind that's still tumbling with the idea of, like, just accept it, bro. Don't try to make sense out of it. Don't try to come up with a different argument or debate it. Just take it for what it's worth.
We all go through that though, man. And I've been so blessed because of the platforms I've had and the opportunities I've had, and I've created to some degree. I said, brother, people would be surprised how much I stress about all this stuff. You know what I mean? And feel like I'm falling short. I feel like I'm falling short all the time in everything. And because of a lot of things, which we don't have time to get into now, but because of my parents and the responsibility, bro, I won a lottery ticket in life. First of all, with these parents I had, bro.
Mhm.
And yeah, everyone has wonderful parents, but if you know my dad, you know my mom, I mean, God, the best of the best. And I had so many opportunities, good schools, and just a wonderful life. My wife, my kids. So, feeling like why is God so? I have the opposite problem a lot of times. Why is God so good to me? And I need to do more than to be thankful. So that we all go through it, man. But what I'm saying is we all feel that way. Because trust me, there's someone that says something nice about me, and I sit there cringing
Yeah.
because I'm like, wow, that was really nice of them to say.
Yeah. Does that ever happen to you, Dionely's?
Where like I have imposter syndrome. Not since I accepted Jesus in my heart,
Mhm.
because I'm just letting him lead me. Like, and I pray to him. I'm like, God, prepare me for the blessings you're gonna give me. And then when I'm gonna make a decision, I pray to him first, and then I realize like if I'm where I am is because he wants me to be there. So I get my validation from God, and I
I actually
appreciate
want to ask
everyone giving me
Dionelli
that.
a quick question.
I
I'm sorry. I want
appreciate.
to ask you, Dionelli, a quick question. So,
Okay.
how has this year been to that process? Because, I mean, you were involved in the community before, but you've gotten really involved in politics working with us this year. I mean, Dionelli was at the DNC, the whole thing. So, my question to you is, how was that process for you in terms of learning a new industry in a way, and kind of being in a different setting and different platforms?
I'm still processing it, Ray. I think we had a conversation a couple days ago. Like, Ray, thank you so much for this opportunity. Like, I'm still processing it. It's just amazing how much life can change in a year and a few months. Like, you're doing one thing one day, then a few months later, you're in Chicago and at the DNC with all these amazing people. And you're just like, I just, I don't know. It's just amazing. I'm still taking it in. It's a is great. But at the same time, people are like, oh, you met so and so. This person is CEO of this, or this person's director of that, senator this. And I'm like, oh, that's great. Like, great for them. Like, that's great. But I don't idolize anybody. Like, everybody is just, todo el mundo es gente normal. ¿Tú me entiendes? This is
Yeah.
a bilingual
Yes.
show, right?
Yeah, well, we got that. We got you.
Okay, and I'm so grateful for you giving me the opportunity and believing in me, Ray. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Round of applause, real quick, Martha. That was beautiful. Just to kind of put a cap on this, and then afterwards we'll get into the last segment of the show. Is especially now with this crazy time that we're living in with the election year, and people are, for better or worse, are calling this the most important election of all time in this country, and so on and so forth.
100%.
Whether it's hyperbole or not, but I just think that one of the things that really frustrates me when it comes to the subjects of politics or religion or this, that, and the third, whatever the case may be, is that I want to be able to still find common ground with certain people, even though our ideologies don't match. And I'll give you a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
One of my radio heroes, Joe Beningo. I've been very fortunate to have him as a friend and have him on my show.
Love Monterey. I'm a big sports guy. He's great. Yeah. He's fantastic.
Yeah, and but the thing is, the point that I'm getting at in this context is, politically, we could not be farther apart. Like, he is complete opposite of what I believe in as far as like politics is concerned. And I'm not even a political animal like that, but he is. But it couldn't be more stark. However, we don't let that dynamic get in the way of respecting each other as human beings and being appreciative of one another's craft and as a human. Whereas I'll even tell you a quick story where some girl that I was dating a couple years ago, especially during the COVID year, where her and her husband were just going at heads with each other because, one was going for Biden, one was going for Trump. And it got so toxic in their household that divorce was actually on the table at one point. So it's just like, I just wish that we live like society could be a little bit more open and honest and just accept people for who they are and not try to judge them. Just because somebody's wearing a MAGA hat doesn't necessarily mean that I think that person's a piece of shit. He just has a certain belief in politics, but who knows? He could be like the awesomest fucking guy in the entire world, but I would never know that because he's wearing a hat that represents something that I don't believe in.
It's been hard for me, bro. I've gone through this. I mean, it's been 9 years now.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy literally started saying it's Mexicans and we're all these Latinos are rapists. And I've gone through my phases where I've had just like zero tolerance kind of thing. And I don't want to say I've lost friends, but I've definitely drifted away from certain people.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point where, on some level, I have some power to do something about it, because I think one way or another, if he loses, this era
Right.
will peter away. But on some level, I wish I was better at it. But I guess at the end of the day, I have gone from blaming people to just understanding that they have their reasons, but also, sometimes con men are really good at it. So there's a lot of used car salesmen that make a lot of money. So and so I just while it upsets me, I have to make peace with that, and with the fact that I'm in a position, particularly me, I think all of us are on some level. We have 10 days for the election, but to do something about it and try to rid him from being in power, and then we kind of move on and try to heal. But you're absolutely right. We should. It is a lesson that coming together and working it out is not supposed to be easy.
Right. And I'll give you
it's not on this one for me.
And I'll give you a perfect example. So my mother's husband, he actually, just to paint a picture, they took a picture of his garage, and he has two flags. One is a Make America Great Again flag, and another one is a Miami Dolphin flag. I can't decide which one it disgusts me even more. However, is he making my mother happy? Yes. And at the end of the day, that's all I can hope for.
My best friend is a Mets fan.
Mm-hmm. And you're a Philly fan.
And I'm a Philly fan, and I absolutely abhor the Mets. And he's such a nice guy about it. And I've always been like not the nice guy about it. Mm. And he was at our house when they won one of the playoff games. And the Mets beating the Phillies in the playoffs, it just, the same year the Celtics freaking won the NBA title. Ugh. As a Philly fan, it's just after the Knicks beat us, it's just so painful. Mm. But my point is that, he was always the bigger man about it, so he deserved to win.
Okay.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, don't worry, Dionely. We won't talk too much sports on here, because I know that's not your forte, but we just had to get that little in real quick.
It's I was gonna say it's okay to be fans, but not be too fanatical. Don't put anything on a pedestal, like I said earlier.
Oh no!
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with that. I'm working that out.
Well, I mean, luckily or unfortunately, I'm a Jets fan, so they haven't really given me anything to be.
Wow, that's painful this year, bro.
Oh my god! I sometimes think I'm a masochist, because do I love this pain? I chose to be a fan of this team, and they've given me nothing. So I don't know what I'm doing to myself.
My buddy Jorge,
fan.
No.
I'm not one of those.
Are you a Yankee fan?
Yes, I am.
Oh, so you're doing okay. You have the
it's balanced, yeah.
You're in the World Series.
I actually tweeted this out, and I put it on other social media platforms earlier this week, where after the Yankees made it to the World Series and the Jets lost in embarrassing fashion on Sunday Night Football, I actually tweeted this out. I said, "New York Yankees, I love you. New York Jets, I hate you." That was a little tongue in cheek, but that's kind of the battle with my sports fandom right now.
Jets have been a tough deal for a long time.
Yeah. Do you have any Joe Beningo back there? What a disaster! He'll find it. But no. Anyway, we'll there we go. Shout out to Joe Beningo. We'll put a cap on the sports right there, Dionely. But what I want to ask you also is that I know that you are a wonderful mother to a great son, and I don't want to put all your business out there too much on there, but how have you been able to indoctrinate Jesus into his life as well?
Well, I don't call it indoctrinating. It's more like introducing him, and then he decides. Because the thing is, a lot of parents, they are like, well, I don't want to force him or force up my kids, and they need to make their own choice. But if you don't introduce them to Jesus, who will? The world is going to tell them all these misconceptions about the Bible and Jesus. And I'm like, no, let me be the one to present them, and then he makes the decision. Because a lot of times rechazamos, or we reject things we don't even know. You know what I mean? So if he does end up saying no, then he'll know what he's saying no to. And then maybe later on, after he experiences a few things in life, and he's like, you know what? Let me give Jesus a try again,
Okay, I like that. See, and kind of the reason why I bring that up is because I feel like, as I mentioned before, I feel like why I was so resistant to it, especially in the beginning, was the fact that it was being shoved down my throat to the point where like I wanted nothing to do with this at all and just get it away from me. And that's why the relationship is it's still fine, but it's never going to be once what it once was because it just the extremities there is too much for me to bear sometimes. So I think that you're actually going about it the right way, whereas opposed to I feel like things would have worked out a little bit different on my
No,
end.
and people who are living or have lived through the process, that's how I could tell when somebody has been through the process and they're like a Christian de corazon, like from your heart for real, because they're more understanding of it's a process and you can't beat it into people. It happens. Like the person has to seek Jesus and let him in. Like Dios mío, like clamarle a Dios, call on to God and y dejar que entre. Let him manifest in your heart. And it's tough because you got to be humble. You got to like we're so used to people telling us, "Oh, put yourself first and you can do it all and you are so powerful." But when you're seeking Jesus, you realize that you understand that you by yourself, you aren't enough. And that goes against the new age philosophy of where like you're everything, you're the center of your own universe. So it's a humbling experience, but I've
Mm,
enjoyed it.
I love that. So before we go, I gotta ask, Bomba Live. It's been a little bit on hiatus right now because of everything that's been going on in the political world and so on and so forth. But I know that you guys are gonna get back to it. So what's the story there? Like, what can people can expect when the show does come back?
Yeah, well, it's going to come back bigger and better. We're actually going to be releasing a show next week before the election.
Hmm.
Another Sonia Manzano, of course, Maria from Sesame Street, came down to visit us to campaign on behalf of with our work around trying to elect Kamala Harris for president. And one of our collaborators, Vanessa Maria Graber, actually hosted that episode. So you're actually going to see that episode on Bomba Live. There's other people that are going to be campaigning with us, some celebrities and special guests that we're going to do interviews with that you'll be seeing next several weeks. So we'll be back really soon.
Hmm.
I think we're going to end up in the studio. Daniela doesn't know that yet, but we're working out those details.
Hmm.
But we definitely, it's really important to do the show. And I've actually been thinking about how to maybe make it more thematic around really highlighting, some of the journey we've gone over the last year. The political part's part of that, but really more about, just kind of making sense of 2024.
Hmm.
So just really excited about it. People definitely want it back. We have some stuff in the can we haven't released yet, so the best is yet to come.
Dionelis, is there anything you would like to add about Bomba Live?
Oh, it's an amazing show. I'm looking forward to everything. That I don't know how it could get even better than it already is because it's already great, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, I concur with that because, like I say, I've said it on the show a bunch of times. I know that Marv is probably sick at nauseum from me saying this all the time, but the name of the show is called First Class, Second Place, and I take pride in bringing first class people on the show only. So that says a lot about what I have
Thank
you
you,
guys
brother.
on the show for today.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
I really appreciate that, brother.
You're very welcome, man. And I appreciate both of you as well. All right, so we're about to close out this episode in a little bit. Before we go, I just have one final segment, kind of just putting this, I like to call this the 3-course meal, and this is the dessert portion. So,
There you go.
if you guys never seen the show before, this next segment is called This or That. It's inspired by Black Sheeps. You can get with this, you can get with that. It's just multiple choice questions. Have a little fun with it.
Yeah.
Get to know our guests a little bit more, and then we just put this episode in the books. So, are we ready, Dionelis?
I'm ready. I just want to remind everybody to make a plan to vote. Your vote counts. And if
That's
you have
right.
children,
100%.
connect with another parent. That way, each parent could watch the kids while the other parent goes and votes to make it part of the children's lives and they understand that that's a normal thing to go out and vote.
100%.
Love it. I love it.
Okay, so let's get ready
Vote
for
matters.
dessert.
All right, so this is also, and I'm gonna have both of you guys go, but we're gonna go ladies first, and then afterwards you
Of
can
course,
go. Yeah, all
of
right.
course.
So here we go. You ready, Marv? Here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for this or that, you, Ms. Dionelis, and you, Mr. Ray. Playlist or podcast?
Podcast.
Podcast.
Taylor ham or pork roll?
I feel like I'm gonna like betray where I'm from.
He's Dominican. It's salami. They do salami. It's
Y'all
pork
go
roll.
ahead.
It's
Go
pork
ahead.
roll for me.
Agree to
Okay.
agree to disagree. Slides or Crocs?
Slides.
That's stuff my kids wear. I wear sneakers. You know what I mean?
Like a real man.
Exactly.
Beach or pool?
Beach. I love beaches.
I'm a big pool guy.
Mm.
Because there's a jacuzzi next to with the pool.
Hey.
I do not get in the jacuzzi. That's disgusting.
Oh my God, jacuzzis are fantastic.
No.
Oh, what a country. I love this. Dogs or cats?
I'm allergic to both, but I'm less allergic to dogs, so I'm going to pick dogs.
I have a dog. I'll go with a dog.
All right. Are you an early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Night owl.
Instagram or TikTok?
TikTok.
I'm old on Facebook, but Instagram.
By the way, Dionely's, I think, is the queen of TikTok because every time I go on TikTok, which is
Definitely
not
the
very
Dominican queen that
Yeah.
she's been calling Bomba
Yes.
many times.
I don't go
La
on
reina dominicana de TikTok. What happened?
Ray has been
I don't go
following
on
her
Tik-
for years.
Yes, I'm ahead of the time.
Yeah, I don't go on TikTok very often, but when I do, she's usually the first person that pops
100%.
up. To give or to receive?
To give.
But it gives a lot more fun, especially when you're a dad. It's a lot of fun.
Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
That's a great. Everyone knows I'm out here, but that's a great question for you, Dionely. I think.
Come to realize, I don't know if it's with age or what, but I think now I'm an introvert. Wait, okay, we don't have time to define.
I think you're an introvert too. By the way, I think that doesn't mean you don't social because you are social. But I think you're. I think of you as an introvert. That's funny
because I charge my battery when I'm by myself.
Okay,
that makes sense.
I like that.
Makes sense.
Batman or Superman?
Wait, not that. Superman, because he does the makeovers.
Superman, because he could lift a car when he was a baby.
Okay. Are you glass half empty or glass half full?
Glass half full.
I'm glass half full.
Would you rather be embarrassed or be afraid?
I hate being afraid.
I'd rather be embarrassed. By the way,
me too.
In the Bible, it's 365 times it says, "Don't be afraid." By the way, I keep bringing it back to the Bible, y'all.
Fear's tough, man. Fear's tough.
Would you rather be too hot or be too cold?
I'd rather be too cold.
I'd rather be too hot.
Really?
Yeah. Cold's tough.
I did not know Ray, apparently. I'm like surprised at all these answers.
Well, you know.
Yeah, well, welcome to the show. That's what
there you go.
That's right. Do you prefer the window seat or the aisle seat?
The window seat.
Aisle.
Yeah, I'm an aisle guy too.
Yeah, guys, we don't want to ask nobody to get up.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, we just get up.
At least it's not the middle. I hate sitting in the middle between two people. Oh, it's the worst.
I like the window, but I know not to drink a lot of fluids before I get on the bed.
Yeah, that's why I like the aisle.
Yeah. Book smart or street smart?
I'm wondering what Ray thinks I am. I think I'm book smart.
You do read the Bible every day.
I mean, you used to make cheesesteaks at a bodega, so you know the street too, girl. You know, I'm definitely more book smart. I'm not the best at certain things, and I don't have the best instincts for certain things. And my family reminds me of that often. So yeah.
All right, this is gonna sound blasphemous, but I'm just gonna say it either way. Geno's or Pat's?
Neither.
I knew it was gonna be blasphemous.
Yeah, neither.
People from Philly and South Jersey, we do not eat cheesesteaks with Cheese Whiz.
No.
Yeah, that's a touristy thing. She's right. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I'll throw this as a caveat. Favorite Philly cheesesteak spot?
The bodega cheesesteak. Whatever corner store that, yeah.
Jim's in Northeast Philly. Of the famous ones, I'd say Jim's in Northeast Philly.
All
or
right.
Steve's, is it Steve's or Prince's or something? One in Northeast Philly is really good. Yeah.
And then finally,
Steve's Prince's.
And then finally, teamwork or solo project?
I don't know. What do you think, Ray?
For
Teamwork.
you, I don't know. To be honest, people would think of
I
me as
like
teamwork, but
events.
I
I like
I
events.
there's times where I like to do both. I like to do things on my own.
Yeah, I like both.
Okay.
But I do
So
like
I kind of
when we hold events and we come together.
yeah, events are fun. Yeah, people see together, and we've had we probably got, I don't know, 50, now with the election stuff, we got about 50, 60 people
Mm-hmm.
working with us. So, and then as the executive director, it's funny because a lot of the lessons I learned as a sports fan, I played a little bit as a kid, but
Mm-hmm.
in sports, I take towards the work.
Mm.
So a lot of it is about the teamwork aspect and kind of how you throttle between being the players manager and being hard on them. And and I've had my cranky moments over the last few months with the campaign not sleeping and stuff. But I've tried to teach the group, like,
Mm.
we, at the end of the day, we have to hold ourselves accountable, because it's like there's September football games, there's December football games, and now we're and there's playoff football game in January.
Yeah.
And now we're in kind of January in that sense. And we all, I had this conversation with Dionely and a couple of staffers like maybe 6 weeks ago. I was like, it's the playoff Super Bowl now.
Mm.
So we have to all just get better, and including myself. So it's you take those lessons into a lot of things.
Absolutely. In other words, in short, teamwork makes the dream work. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this or that. And that is going to do it for this episode of First Class, Second Place. Thank you so much to you guys for coming through. I really appreciate this. I've been looking forward for a long time for you guys to come on the show, and we finally made it happen. This has been a dream come true. Thank you so much, Dionely, from joining us from the city of brotherly love. Thank you for joining me here, brother. I really, really appreciate you guys very much.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's to you, brother.
Thank you, brother. So where can they find you guys on social media? Ladies first.
Dionely?
If you can see it on the screen, Dionely ETC.
Yeah.
On TikTok, especially.
TikTok,
and then
Instagram, Facebook.
The easiest way to find me is @Collazo_speaks on Instagram. Instagram is the best place to find me.
All right. I love it, guys. Guys, thank you so much for coming through. Again, really appreciate it. Can't wait to do this again in the future. And like they said, your vote matters. And ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at I am Jason Enrique on all social media platforms. Don't forget to like, subscribe on YouTube at Jason Enrique. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next week. This has been the First Class, Second Place podcast. We out.